So I know in my last video I said we would continue our discussion on folktales, but I lied. We're actually going to take a brief break from folktales in order to have a little bit of holiday fun. So welcome to the Folklore tree, and today in this special episode we are going to talk a little bit about Valentine's Day. Or if you're in the same boat as me, Single Awareness Day. Worry not though, fellow single people, as Valentine's Day is about a heck of a lot more than just romantic love, even though that's been the main focus for like 1500 years. Valentine's Day was instated by the church around 469 ACE in order to be a more morally acceptable replacement for the deliciously sinful and decidedly pagan Lupercalia festivals that were held in Rome at the time. Lupercalia was a commemorative festival held by Romans in order to celebrate the founding of Rome by Remus and Romulus, the legendary brothers who were said to have been raised by a wolf. Lupercalia also involves some decidedly NSFW fertility rites, which is why the church wanted to change it, that were meant to speed the return of spring and ensure a good planting season. Now, we all know that Valentine's Day was named after Saint Valentine, but nobody really knows exactly who Saint Valentine was. However, the Pope at the time probably chose Saint Valentine's Day because he was so closely associated with chaste emotional love as opposed to the physical intimacy that surrounds the Lupercalia festival. Now, there are many stories about Saint Valentine and how he became associated with Valentine's Day. However, the general consensus is that after Emperor Claudius outlawed weddings in order to be able to draft more unattached young men into his army, St. Valentine kept performing marriages in secret, at least until he was caught and executed by the Roman authorities. Some stories even suggest that St. Valentine, after being caught and arrested for illegally marrying people, actually fell in love with the jailer's daughter and wrote her romantic but totally not sexy love notes that were signed from your Valentine, at least until he was caught again and beaten to death with clubs. Whether you believe he was beheaded or beaten, St. Valentine is believed to have died around 269 ACE. So this seems to be where we've got the contemporary practice of sending Valentine's Day messages. The first actual documented Valentine's Day notes weren't sent until over 1,000 years later in about 1415. These messages take the form of letters written by the Duke of Orleans, See, this is why I stopped taking French in high school, so that French people wouldn't be subjected to me trying to accidentally butchering their language. Anyway, he would send these letters to his wife, who was in France, because he at the time was imprisoned in the Tower of London. How romantic. Now, as far as we know, these are the earliest instances of the sending of Valentine's Day messages. It took a few hundred more years for the custom to really take off. The first commercially made Valentines started coming out around when the 1800s rolled around, and not just the seriously sappy ones either. The Victorian era also marked the first occurrences of funny Valentine's Day cards, although, at least by today's standards, they're actually really mean. For example, this Victorian Valentine that was addressed to an old maid. If you'd lasso a real live man and dope him as you only can, then cut his throat and shoot him through, he might be coaxed to marry you. What a jerk! Exchanging lovey-dovey messages isn't the only way people have been celebrating Valentine's Day. Kids have been exchanging Valentines at school for basically decades. And some early Valentine's traditions include activities that look suspiciously similar to trick-or-treating at Halloween. Kids would go house to house and sing a little ditty or a rhyme in exchange for candy or pennies. Personally, I vote we bring this tradition back. It's hard to be sad about being single on Valentine's Day when you've got adorable kids coming to your door. Many other Valentine's Day traditions revolve around tying the knot, or at least trying to ensure that you can tie the knot in the near future. Some of these might include putting certain luck charms or magical objects under your pillow in order to ensure you can get married in the next year. Others revolve around trying to predict who you're going to marry. Some traditions, for example, suggest that the first person you see on Valentine's Day is the person that you are going to marry. Excuse me for a minute, I have to go tape a picture of Darren Criss to my ceiling. And now let's finish up with some of the most popular Valentine's Day symbols. Cupid hearts and pretty white doves abound this time of year. So the question is, why? Well, I think everybody knows that Cupid is the Roman god of love and sensuality, and in ancient Greek he was also known as Eros, which, by the way, yes, is where we get the word erotic from. Back in the good old days, Cupid was usually portrayed as a young man. These days, though, he's usually pictured as a baby, which, when you think about it, is actually kind of creepy. Jack Santino suggests that this babyfication of Cupid might actually be a leftover from New Year's celebrations, which involve the old man, new baby imagery. So that's one less creepy way of explaining it. Hearts are also widely representative of love and passion, although again, Jack Santino also suggests that they could in fact be a symbol of emotional vulnerability as well, specifically that which comes with confessions of love. And when you think about it, this actually makes quite a bit of sense. After all, we all know how scary it is to confess a crush or ask somebody out on a date. Basically, you are exposing your metaphorical heart to that person in the hopes that they don't crush it under their boots, because this is Canada and we have to wear snow boots this time of year. Birds are traditionally associated with Valentine's Day because old folk beliefs suggest that birds actually choose their mate on this particular day. Also, the return of migratory birds after winter is highly suggestive of the return of spring and the return of fertility that comes with the return of spring. This could possibly be a throwback to those Lupercalia festivals I was telling you about. Color is majorly symbolic as well. Everything everywhere gets plastered with pink and white and red decorations. Pink is basically the combination of red and white. However, it's also been suggested that red and white are associated with blood and milk respectively. So basically, the combination of red and white, and also pink by extension, can be considered to be a combination of the energetic masculine identity, as represented by blood, which is the life force, and the nurturing feminine identity, which is represented by milk, obviously symbolic of motherhood. So Valentine's Day colors of red, white, and pink are, in a way, suggestive of the combination of masculine and feminine into a romantic or sexual relationship. So if you find yourself decidedly unpartnered this Valentine's Day, try not to worry too much about it. Just remember that there are more things to celebrate on Valentine's Day than just romantic love, such as the fact that spring is going to be back in just a few weeks. As for me, I'm going to be celebrating the fact that there's going to be a ton of chocolate on sale the day after. So this has been an episode of the Folklore Tree. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a very happy Valentine's Day. And I will see you all next week when we get back to discussing folktales. Bye!